In the next tutorial, we will show you how to edit the front page of your website. Upon logging into your website, we will simply go to the top left and we will go to the front page. Once the page is loaded, we will use our mouse cursor to select Edit with Elementor. Please note that I'm going to be opening this in a new tab so that I can keep the front page open. Now that the page is loaded, we will use our mouse to navigate around the website. As you can see, while we move around, different sections will be highlighted with a border. We will start with the top section. As you can see, I've got the top section highlighted with a blue border going around it. I will simply select the Edit button, and on the left hand side the window will appear. Here we can change the layout, which includes the content width, the column gap, the height, vertical alignment, and so forth. In the structure, you can see we only have one column and it is set to 100%. Moving on to the styling section, we can change the background. As you can see, we currently have an image of the stage as the background. We can change this by clicking on the image and either uploading a new image from our PC, or we can select Media Library and use an image that has already been loaded on the website. We will then continue and we can change the positioning of this image. As you can see, we currently have it set to custom, but we can change it to any position we wish. Moving forward, we can change the attachment settings, making it scroll or fixed. We can also choose to repeat the image and choose the size of the image. Moving on, we can add a scrolling effect and a mouse effect to the section. Next is the background overlay. Here we are able to add an overlay, which can either be an image or a color. We will now set this back to default, and we will continue to the border. Here we can add a border to this entire section, and as you can see, the border applies to the entire section, as that is what we are editing. As you can see, the border there. We're also able to add a border to the hover effect, and we will move on to the shape divider. Here we can add a divider to either the top or the bottom of the section by simply choosing the type, the color, and changing the height. Lastly, in the advanced section, we have our margin and padding. As you can see here, again, we have a padding of 200 for the top and 200 for the bottom. This will be the space between the edge of the container and the content. If I was to remove the top padding, we will see this top spacing is disappeared. If I was to put the top padding back at 400, the top spacing will be double that of the bottom. We'll set that back to 200, and we will continue. In the emotion effects section, we can add scrolling effects, as well as an entrance animation for this entire section. Lastly, the responsive, attributes, and custom CSS section you do not need to worry about, as that is for more in-depth development. Now that we have covered a section, we will move on to a column. By again using our mouse to navigate around, you can see we have highlighted the column as seen with the dotted white border. Again, we will select the Edit button, and the window on the left appears with our layout settings, including our column width, alignment, and so forth. In our styling section, we can add a background to this column. As you can see, this only applies to the column, as that is what we are editing. I will set that back to default, and we will continue. We can add effects. We can also add a background overlay to this column, as well as a border, as seen here. You can see the border only applies to this column. And moving on to the advanced section, you can see we have our margin set at default and our padding set to 0 to decrease the spacing. In our motion effects, we are able to add more scrolling and mouse effects, as well as an entrance animation pertaining to just this column. You saw the image did not move as we are only editing the column. Moving on to the responsiveness, attributes, and custom CSS. Again, this is for more in-depth development, and you need not worry. Now that we have covered the column, we're going to move on to a widget. Again, using our mouse cursor to navigate around the site, we will see a blue border appear, indicating that we have highlighted a widget. We will select the edit icon and the window on the left appears yet again. Here we're able to change the text live, and we're able to go on to the styling section. Here we can choose to change the alignment of the text, the color, the typography, which includes the font, size, weight, the ability to transform, style and decorate the text, as well as the line height and letter spacing. Lastly, moving on to the columns, you can see we currently have margin and padding filled. As you can see, our margin has currently got 100 for the right and 100 for the left. If I was to remove the margin of 100 on the right, you can see that that black bar did not end all the way at the end of the page. If I was to set that back to 100, you will notice that we have got 100 spacing there. Moving on to the padding, you can see we have a top and bottom of 30. If I was to remove that, the padding between the text and the container has disappeared. If we set that to 60, it should be the double that of the bottom. We'll put that back to default and we will continue. Our motion effects include our scrolling effects, mouse effects, and our engine's animation. As seen here, it applies to this entire widget. Next, in our background, we can choose to add a background. As you can see, we already have a color set here. Moving on, we can add a border to the widget, as seen here, and we can change the positioning. Lastly, in the responsive attributes and custom CSS, you need not worry about, as that is for more in-depth development. So to edit the front page, we will simply navigate to the area we wish to edit, find the edit button, and select it. Once we are happy with all the changes we have made, we will go to the bottom left of the page and we will hit update. That is how you would edit the front page of your website.